I went from this to this in 9 months. Stick around to find out how. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. You may be asking yourself, Bob, what in the world am I watching here? Well, what you're watching is me walk. I know that doesn't sound super exciting, but if you consider the fact that 9 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day. Usually between 5 and 6 miles a day. I'm going to up that for March, but we'll talk about that down at the end of the video. I am almost 60 years old. Got a couple months to go till my 60th birthday. And the primary purpose of all of this is to show you, hang on a second, there's a really loud truck coming. The primary purpose of all of this is to show you that it's never too late to change your life. It's never too late till the day comes that you don't wake up, you have a chance to do something to improve yourself. Whether it be your health, your fitness, your spirituality, learning a new skill, whatever it is. It's never too late to change your life. Here comes the logging truck from the other way. That one's not as loud. But yeah, it's never too late, folks. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. You know, I still see something interesting every day when I go into my YouTube stats. There's still a great many of you that are watching these videos that aren't subscribed. And I have a birthday present in mind, still, 2.5 months away or so. And it would be a really cool birthday present if we could get to 5,000 subscribers by the time I got to 60. 6,000 subscribers would be even better because 6 and my 60th birthday and all that, but I'll settle for 5. So why don't you go ahead and take a moment and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you're not ready to do that, at least hit the thumbs up. Maybe drop down in the comments, say hi, Bob. Because the more interaction I can get on each video, the more people YouTube will share it out to. And, well, yes, obviously, everybody's doing YouTube, or most people that are doing YouTube. There is that underlying current of they'd like to make a little money at it. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to make a little money at it. But that's not the primary purpose. The primary purpose is I spent, I want to show you it's never too late to change your life. I spent a majority of my life, from when I was discharged from the Army in 1983 till 9.5 months ago now, basically getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And now, as I'm about to hit 60, I feel like I've got my life back. I've, starting to do some things that I want to do that I couldn't do before. And if my story will inspire one person today to make a change to their life, then that is what I'd like to see it happen. And if I can reach one person today, and then that person starts on their journey, and 3 or 4 of their friends see them at work or wherever they're at church, whatever, and go, wow, you're really looking good. What'd you do? That spreads the word. And, think of all the money. If you go back a couple, 3 videos, I think I titled it, We're Spending How Much? Take a look at how much we're spending on health care for diseases that just don't need to be. I mean, type 2 diabetes should barely exist. There are going to be some, but not in the numbers we have right now. But anyway, that's not what I came here to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about dairy, because this is one of those big controversial things in the carnivore world. What about dairy? I'm going to attempt to explain why some people tolerate dairy and why some people don't, and what the different levels of dairy are. We all know I kind of get into trouble when I try to do sciencey stuff. But we're going to give this a try, because this is one of the videos that was requested for this February series. I've been working on it, trying to figure out how to do it. Oh, sorry, there's probably going to be some wind noise today, but at least it's not as bad as it was yesterday. I tried to record this video because this is Saturday's video I'm recording here, even though it's Friday. I normally record it on Thursday. I did do this yesterday. And the wind noise was so bad, I couldn't use any of the footage. I've talked about that before. If I've been out here walking and recording, and then something doesn't go right, well, I can't just jump right out and go do a whole nother walk again. I'm not that healthy yet, but it's getting there. But anyway, let's talk about dairy. Let's start off with mammals, which are what humans are. From the time you're born until somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. Sometimes a little quicker, sometimes a little later. The average is about 5-year-olds. Their primary food source is their mom's milk. Because it has all the right macronutrients, and yes, milk has all 3 of the macronutrients. It has proteins, fats, and carbs. And milk is designed to turn a small human into a growing human, get it as big as it can possibly get, as fast as it can get. So it has everything the growing baby needs. I'm going to take a quick kind of sideline here. And some mammals can do okay on, well, we'll just talk about humans here. Some kids can do okay on cow's milk. goat's milk, things like that. But the best milk form is their mom's milk. Their own species specific milk. And who in the world ever thought mixing up a concoction in the lab and calling it baby formula was a good idea? Now, I understand there are some moms out there that have trouble making enough milk, and these formulas do have a place in the world. But anyone that tells you, here it's just a little bit, anyone that tells you that formula is better for your baby than their own natural mom's milk, that's just foolishness. Who in the world, quick show of hands down in the comments, who thinks that a chemical storm cooked up in the lab, while it might still be okay, is actually better for the baby than their mom's own milk? Absolute foolishness. But yeah, milk has all three macronutrients. The sugar is lactose. And we've all heard of lactose intolerance. We'll get to that in a little bit. There are actually hundreds of proteins in mammals' milk. But the two primary that we hear about all the time are casein and whey. And they are two the most predominant milk proteins. And then of course there's fat. That's the good stuff, as far as I'm concerned. But something that happens to people when they lose, as we age, past that window of 3 to 6 years old, many of us lose the ability to process some of what's in the milk. And of course, a lot of us, the milk sugars, which is the, little storm of bugs. That was pleasant. The lactose. And if we lose the ability to process the lactose, we usually know that right away. We'll drink the milk and it kind of makes us sick. Makes us not feel good, makes us upset to our stomach. But the casein in the whey can actually do the same thing. Hang on just a second. Just felt like I still had tons of gnats flying around my head, but I don't. That storm of bugs is way back there. But the casein in the whey, the proteins, can have the same effect, just not as quick. You know, it might be we drink a glass of milk or eat some dairy, and a couple of days later, a day or two, we we notice a little bit of problems, because that protein and whey the casein and whey can cause some inflammation. And it can show up as, inflammation in the skin, eczema, psoriasis, rosacea, any of that kind of stuff. And, we get that, and our doctors don't even think normally to ask us, well, what have you had to eat in the last 3 days? But the proteins in dairy could be causing some inflammation. Again, in the skin, in the joints, could cause some irritable bowel syndrome, or cause your ulcerative colitis or any number of other gut issues to flare up. It could be the milk proteins and migraines. So be sure and analyze everything. And of course the fat, now we're going to get into the meat of this discussion. The fats. It's actually a really good mix. We'll wait till this truck goes by. There weren't nearly as many trucks out yesterday, but it was, I can't tell you how windy it was. I mean, I actually thought I was going to end up with a bruise. I was coming out of the church building, and the flag that's right next to the door was whipping so hard in the wind, it actually snapped and stung me right on the side of the head. My little camper trailer was literally vibrating in the wind all day yesterday. Felt like you remember the old hotel rooms from the 60s and 70s, the magic fingers. You'd put a quarter in it and the bed would vibrate. That's sort of what my whole trailer felt like yesterday. But anyway, the fat. It's got a really good mix. It's about 65% saturated fat, 30% monounsaturated fats, and 5% polyunsaturated fats. And as much as some of those get kind of a bad name out there in the world of nutrition, we actually need all of those in about that kind of a ratio, because that's the way nature made it. Now on to some of the other things. People like to use half and half in their coffee. Well, they think, well, it's half fat and half other stuff. That's not exactly true. Half and half is actually about 30% fat. Which leaves the other 70% for the carbs and the proteins. A carnivore favorite, heavy whipping cream. That is getting into the much better for you range, or less bad. But it is only on average 36% fat, which leaves the other 64% to be the other stuff, the proteins and the carbs. Now, some heavy whipping creams do their best to limit the carbs by taking out some of the lactose. But, it's got to be made up of something. So just be aware if you're a heavy whipping cream user in your coffee and you're not seeing the results you want, or every once in a while your joint pain flares up again, or your skin condition, or your irritable bowel syndrome, or whatever it is, it could be the lactose and the casein and the whey that's still in the heavy whipping cream. And the next one, my favorite, although now that I've done some of this research, when the current stock of butter I have runs out, I'm going to buy some ghee just to see what happens if I notice a difference. I'll let you know. People think, oh, butter, it's just all fat. Well, no. Depending on the butter you get, it is 70 to 80% just the fat, which is really good. I mean, most humans can tolerate that little bit of the other stuff that's still left in butter. And here's where we're going to take another sideline and talk about cheeses. Now, the way cheese is made is it's exposed to a bacteria that basically chews up all the lactose. So it chews up all the sugar. But the other thing that it does, I guess the best way to describe it is that the protein chains in the dairy cheese as it's being made get bent, so they don't react as much with the body, and they basically end up getting just passed out of the system as opposed to being used. Which is why most people, again, just like with the butter, most humans have pretty good success with things like hard, full-fat cheeses like cheddar, Kefirs, cream cheese, things like that. They tend to do very well with those and don't have a lot of problems. But again, if you're having that kind of stuff, I got to change arms here for just a second. My shoulder's still bothering me just a little bit, but it is, I mean, I notice I'm getting more range of motion in that right arm every day. So whatever I ripped up in there when I took that fall a month ago is slowly healing the rest of the way. But so like I said, most humans do just fine with cream cheese, full fat cheeses. I've heard a lot of people say the word kefir. I don't even know what that is. If anybody knows and wants to explain it, jump down in the comments and let me know. That's one of the things I was going to look up before I came out to make this video. It was 85 yesterday and sunny. I got out and soaked up my vitamin D. And again today, although it's only 72 right now, it's only supposed to get up to 73 today and then start dropping as that storm, which was making such a big ruckus with the wind yesterday, is supposed to start moving again and come in tonight. And I am glad I postponed the walk with Bob from tomorrow, because they have increased the chance of rain and dropped the high temperature again for tomorrow. It's only supposed to be a high of 48 now. And if the high is 48, it's going to be quite a bit cooler than that first thing in the morning. So it's good. I'm thinking about postponing it just for 2 weeks. So that'd be like the second Saturday in March. Let me know, those of you who are planning on attending, if the second Saturday in March will work for you. So unfortunately, I'm running out of Saturdays. Only got about 4 weeks left until it's time to head north to Ohio. So we shall see. But yeah, that's the butter and the 70 to 80% fats. Let's talk about ghee and why I'm going to try ghee. I know you can make it yourself. There's many videos out there on how to turn your butter into ghee, which is basically just clarified butter. And it takes the rest of the stuff out. So that you're left with, most ghees are 99 to 100% fat. And that's what we're really looking for to up our fat content, cooking in butter or bacon grease or tallow or lard or whatever. Pure fats, pure animal fats. And butter is an animal fat. It happens to be made from a cow. But because the butter and ghee made from cows or goats or whatever has had all of the lactose and casein and whey stripped out of it, there are very, very few people, we're talking less than 0.5% of the people out there, are going to have a reaction to ghee made out of other animals' milk. So I hope some of what I said about all that made sense to you. We all know I sort of get into trouble when I try to do sciencey type stuff. We're going to talk about what we're going to do in March down at the end of the video. So stick around for that, and at the end of the video I'll have some final thoughts on today's dairy subject. But for now, let's cue the music. Okay, cut the music. Thank you. That's the walking section, the music section of today's video. I didn't walk a second. Like, I'm going to walk a whole bunch more today, but I'm trying to keep these videos at a very specific length. And you can see it's still pretty early in the morning because normally the sun's over there when I'm recording this section. Now it's right here, just coming over top of the building. I want to try and get this thing edited and starting to upload before my live tonight, which of course was last night to you guys. But yeah, so as unpopular as the opinions might be, if you're still having some problems with any type of inflammatory response, or you're not losing weight the way you think you should, or you're not, gaining weight the way you think you should, if you're not moving towards your ideal body composition, you may want to take a look at what dairy you're using. But anyway, let's talk about March. March is coming up. Now, before you freak out, I'm not telling everybody you have to rush out there and start walking 15,000 steps a day. That's what I'm going to do. And how I came up with that is I went online and looked, and the average step count for 6 miles is like 13,568 steps. Now, of course, there's some variation there with stride length and all that stuff, but that seems to be about the average, and that seems to jive with the average I take between my phone and my watch. That seems to be about the right number of steps for when I say I've been walking between 5 and 6 miles a day. So 15,000 steps will put me over 6 miles a day every day for all of March, minus a couple. There's going to be a couple of travel days coming up here in March. So, and remember, I had a lot of trouble getting videos uploaded from my sister's house, and I'm going to be there for about a week and a half. But hopefully I can get some videos made ahead, get those in the queue. Then I'm planning on getting together with James and Emily at least once, and hopefully I can have some more made and steal their internet and upload a few more videos, because I sure don't want to go a whole week and a half without talking to you guys. But that's much later in March. But for you, just pick a number that seems slightly out of reach. And you don't have to get there every day. Let's say you're walking 3,000 steps a day, and that pretty well tires you out. Let's say I want to try and average 3,500 steps for March. So if you push that 1% a day every day in March, the first half of March you'll be approaching the 3,500 steps, but the second half of March, hopefully you'll go over by a little bit, and you'll end up averaging about 3,500 steps. So just pick yourself a goal, whether it be in, the exercise, whether it be lifting or walking or whatever movement you're doing. Set a goal for yourself that seems slightly out of reach, and try to get to that goal over the course of March, which is why I'm going to try for 15,000 steps a day in March, which should put me over, if I've done my math correctly, that should be somewhere between 7 and 7.5 miles, depending on how long my stride is that day. But anyway, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to get out there, be 1% better today. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.